Back in December 2023, Bethesda introduced its latest attempt at paid mods, dubbed Creations. As part of this in-game update, they merged the old Creation Club, free mod support, and this new paid mod storefront into a singular, unified page. And in the full year since that initial rollout, there's been some changes, some new content, and frankly, a lot to talk about. Today, I'll be taking a look at the good, the bad, and whatever the hell this is. When Creations first launched in December of 2023, it came with some rules and restrictions. Creations put up for sale could not feature any AI-generated works. They couldn't require other mods, free or paid, in order to function, and any assets included needed explicit permission in order to be used and sold. At the program's release, Bethesda also specified that you couldn't take previously free mods that you had made and put them up for sale. This then changed in the summer of 2024, when Starfield finally received its support for both free and paid mods. More on Starfield's impact later. Currently, the verified creators in this program are allowed to maintain free and paid versions of the same mod, but Bethesda recommends keeping the original free iteration available, and that a paid version should have new content to help distinguish it from its original free version. And Creations did fall victim to a couple of the limitations that we already had in terms of modding. On console, Skyrim's Creations counted towards your total 5 GB of mod space, meaning you now had to juggle that alongside your free mods. And while these are officially published and approved by Bethesda, PlayStation does not allow any creations that add new assets, be it textures, models, voice lines, and so on, which continues to severely limit what PlayStation players have access to. And across all systems, Skyrim's Creations disable achievements the same way that free mods would. Starfield recently received a patch allowing creations to be achievement friendly, but Skyrim has not, as of the recording of this video. At the launch of Skyrim's Creations, there were only a handful of paid ones available, a few of which I've covered on the channel at this point. This ranged from a single armor set being priced at $4, new player homes, with some of those being priced as high as $6, a newly voiced companion, also at $4, new dungeons, weapons, and so on. And at the time, the largest creation available, at approximately $7 USD, was the East Empire expansion, a newly voiced quest that added the ability to claim cleared out dungeons, retake mines, and add another layer to Skyrim's player economy. Frankly, this wasn't the strongest rollout for the program, for several reasons. Most of the creations were player homes, and between Anniversary Edition already adding nearly a dozen new houses, and the fact that there's no shortage of great free house mods out there, it just felt like an oversaturated market. As someone who's most interested in new quest content, the launch lineup was lacking. East Empire expansion was great from a gameplay standpoint, but it didn't have as much in terms of story. Legendary Dungeons Dwarven Delves gave us 2 dungeons and sub-dungeons, with the new quests being told through notes rather than new characters. Think more so along the lines of the old Creation Club content. The Arquebus actually came as a welcome surprise to me, adding a high-quality dungeon and a new firearm weapon type that could be distributed to your Civil War faction. But even this felt a little steep price-wise at $6. And this kinda became the norm for Creations for the several months after the program's launch. We saw more paid player homes, small creations that added a few weapons, maybe some crafting options, but nothing that felt like a brand new experience or a DLC level release. During this time, there were 2 in particular that I played, Echoes of the Veil and Silent Moon's Weapons. Echoes of the Veil having released in February 2024 at approximately $8, making it the most expensive creation at the time. This aimed at fleshing out the Forgotten Vale from the Dawnguard DLC, adding a new way to reach the Vale as well as nearly 24 new dungeons, a new player home, and some newly enchanted gear. While it did have a story, it was still told through notes and some environmental storytelling. But Because it didn't use any new assets, this was released on all systems, including PlayStation. I liked Echoes of the Veil, but I also felt like it wasn't very different from a lot of the unvoiced sprawling dungeon packs that I've seen released for free for over a decade now. I did get plenty of time out of the creation, but $8 did feel kinda steep in the grand scheme of things. And then there was Silent Moon's Weapons. Released in April 2024 for $6, this creation included a short dungeon, 8 weapons, and 1 shield. And when they said short dungeon, they meant it. It was a very basic, very short, very lackluster dungeon with some wolves, 2 trolls, some ice wraiths, and that was it. When you reached the end of the dungeon, the new weapons and shield were all there, just sitting on the ground alongside one another. And to make matters worse, the launch version had a bug where the new sword was disabled and was completely inaccessible. What wasn't a bug, however, was the fact that these weapons could not be improved. They couldn't be crafted, they couldn't be disenchanted, all of which severely limited their use for a full playthrough. When I played this, it was the most negative I had been about any of the creations. And it was the first time that I had felt really ripped off by something that I bought from the program. And while I continued to keep an eye on new creations as they released, I took some time off from covering them, as I felt really burned by Silent Moon Weapons in particular. In June 2024, Bethesda officially launched mod support for Starfield, with the public release of the new creation kit and the first wave of paid creations. This included some free creations, some paid, and a few that were even made by Bethesda themselves. Yeah, I know the title says I'm talking about Skyrim's paid creations, but trust me, Starfield's fits into this discussion. I haven't actually bought any of Starfield's creations yet, despite being given a free $10 worth of credits for it. And despite all of my problems with Skyrim's creations, from overpriced weapon packs to lackluster dungeons, Starfield's was absolutely worse right out the gate. Paid creations to increase jump pack distance, a ramen shop that was essentially for display purposes, and Bethesda throwing their hat into the ring wasn't much better. For $10, they released a single 2x2 ship hab, which to this day is still one of the most egregiously priced creations across both games. Even now, more than half a year later, Starfield's creations lineup hasn't improved all that much. Granted, the creation kit has only now gotten lip sync support. I still have plenty of critiques about Skyrim's lineup, but Starfield's has been worse in almost every way. Even Starfield's recent update to add achievement support for paid creations is a great idea in theory, until you realize that it's an option for every paid creation. That means we get creations like LSD's new game customizer, which lets you give yourself ships, weapons, gear, and credits at the start of New Game Plus, which is essentially the equivalent of giving yourself stuff via console commands, which would lock you out of getting achievements. I was a big proponent of getting achievement support for paid creations, with the caveat that it should be reserved explicitly for creations that match the vanilla game's balancing, and don't serve to give players overpowered gear or act as a cheat engine the way that this one does. Now, moving back to our Skyrim timeline. As we approached August 2024, I finally started to hear about some creations that aimed to give us the new kind of experiences that I was looking for. The first of which was Bard's College expansion by King Gath, the team behind the East Empire expansion and the ever-popular Sim Settlement series for Fallout 4. Priced at $10, Bard's College expansion actually felt like a DLC, adding a new, fully voiced set of questlines that aimed to make the Bard's College feel like a fully realized faction, with the ability to play instruments, participate in bardic duels of wit, go on diplomatic assignments as an emissary, and a main questline in which you enhance your powers as the Dragonborn. with a way to chain existing shouts together, add new buffs to your shouts, and learn a few new ones as well. This is my favorite of the paid creations, as it does what I want more than anything. It gives me a new experience, something that feels like a natural extension of the game, at a quality that even surpasses the vanilla game at times. And it made me realize that if anything, this is what the future of creations should be. It should be about giving us DLC level content, at a price that remains competitive to the official DLCs. Following this was the release of 2 quest-focused creations, both of which I really enjoyed. A Tale of Blood and Snow at $10 and Coven of Crones at $5. A Tale of Blood and Snow expanded on Skyrim's vampire clans, adding a fully voiced set of quests and 3 factions to choose between. With 10 new dungeons, new gear, great characters, and a lot of new Radiant quests, this felt like a really good natural addition to Skyrim. Coven of Crones released at the tail end of October, adding a new world space the size of Solstheim, along with a storyline focused on Tamriel's witches. At $5, I think this is one of the most competitive creations price-wise, with new characters, a large player home, a dozen dungeons, and more. Both of these received my personal seal of approval, and it showed me that we had at least a few different verified creators who were really trying to make unique content. This isn't to say that Skyrim's creations are all sunshine and rainbows now. If anything, I wish it was. For every Bard's College expansion we see, there's a lot more really lazy stuff out there. The Forgotten Armory collection is one of Skyrim's most egregious ones. This is quite literally an asset flip. The author bought the license to a few 3D asset packs, put them in a Skyrim mod, and charged $5 for it. At launch, they said it would be updated over time, but the author wasn't even sure what they were gonna update it with. And to make matters worse, there's already a free version available on the Nexus. And for a while, the free version had more items than the paid one did. But that wasn't the end of it either, because this author decided, hey, I'll release more of these. The Ancient Civilization Armory Collection was priced at $5 as well. And frankly, some of these models and textures look like crap. The free version of this creation isn't even available anymore, since I guess they didn't have the rights to some of the models being included, which isn't really a good sign either. I understand that not everyone in the program is going to be a 3D modeler, but if you're buying weapon and armor assets for your creation, they should serve as part of the content, but they shouldn't be the extent of the content. Say for instance you're making a quest creation, and you need a new weapon as the reward. Great, use that asset that you bought the license to. But in the case of Forgotten Armory and Ancient Civilization, the author just bought asset packs and threw them into a Skyrim creation at $5 a pop. So to me, it feels like nothing more than a lazy, uninspired cash grab. Another creation that I covered was Spelltome Craft, priced at $5. This allowed you to use new crafting stations to create usable spell tomes, which covered existing spells and some new ones. One thing that I said during that video was that I liked the idea, but that I would want to see how they could expand the creation a bit more in the future, such as adding some additional spells via updates. Instead, the author released a new paid creation called Scrollcraft, once again priced at $5, and adding new crafting altars in order to make spell scrolls. It's nickel and diming. It's intentionally splitting up content to try and sell more individual packs. You already created the functionality with this for Spelltome Craft, and you could have added this as an update to that, but no. One of the community's biggest concerns with paid creations is the precedent that it sets. That with the existence of paid mods, it might become very expensive to build a full mod list. Fortunately, we have a lot of mod authors who are keeping their mods free, whether it's old ones or new ones. But when you get these piecemeal types of creations, it shows why users are concerned about being charged for every little small thing. Dr. Jacopo, best known for his Cathedral mod series on the Nexus, has just entered the foray into creations, starting with Cathedral, 3D Maple Vine, a $1 creation that replaces just the vanilla Maple Vine sapling. And yes, it's only $1. But it's also only one model being replaced. Should I now expect to see a dozen different Cathedral paid creations, each one only replacing one model and one texture at a time? It's another example of splitting up what could otherwise be sold as a very convenient all-in-one pack. And don't get me wrong, Dr. Jacopo does great work. I've loved a lot of the Cathedral mod series, and I think had he done an all-in-one floor pack, that could have made a lot more sense. And that would have been a little more respectful of the players. Instead, this reads to me like it's moving in the direction of trying to make us buy each tree, each plant, each asset, one by one. It's death by 1,000 cuts. I just want to add real quick that I wrote this script weeks ago, and I kept pushing the video back because every time I went to record it, something else seemed to come up, the latest of which is another egregious one. And yes, I am saying the word egregious a lot today. Animated Weapon Series, Mehrunes Razor is a $7 purchase, and it just adds some animations to the Daedric Dagger. $7 to add some animated flair to a single weapon in the game. Take into account that the creation's name is said to be part of a series, which means we can easily infer that they plan on doing this with other Daedric artifacts. I didn't play and cover every single creation in the past year, and there's a lot that I'll never play. But with all this said, where does all this leave creations? And where does it go from here? Now, look, I'm not looking to change anyone's mind on creations as a form of paid mods. I understand that I have a very different relationship with modding than most people do, and I realize that it means I have a different approach to them in some ways. I've been making videos on Skyrim mods for over 10 years now. I'm in a situation where I've been lucky enough to support myself financially by playing these mods, and as a result, I'm making more money from it than many of these authors are via Nexus's donation point system, or through their Patreons and even direct donations. I'm a smaller, niche YouTuber at the end of the day. I'm not living in a Mr. Beast McMansion, but I still recognize that my content is able to profit, while the original mod authors might not be able to do so. And because of this, I understand why many mod authors want to find better ways to support themselves. Some of them have, and are making good money off of subscriptions like Patreon, but these are ultimately far and few between. This isn't a video debating if paid mods should or should not exist. Pandora's box has already been opened, and we'll never be able to close it. For both better and worse, the system is here. Minecraft has had it for years. Warframe has a form of player-created skins. Bethesda is just one of the latest to create a similar monetization scheme, and ultimately, they won't be the last. On paper, I think some of their rules for creations make sense. No AI-generated works in order to avoid consent concerns. No other mods can be required, as that would create tons of dependency issues. However, I think Bethesda needs to crack down on what can and cannot be sold. Asset flips should be outright barred. If Bethesda isn't gonna crack down on these for the consumer's sake, they should at least do it for their own. As the publishing platform for these creations, and taking a cut for each of them as well, these paid creations serve as a representation of Bethesda. Someone at Bethesda had to approve it to go up for sale on their store in the first place. And there's a lot of concerns about how this affects the free modding scene. I think the impact is there, but it's not as doomsday-ish as some people said it would be. There's a lot of notable mod authors who have insisted on keeping their mods free forever. Projects like Skyblivion have said that they'll never join the paid program, for a multitude of reasons, and the same goes for the Beyond Skyrim teams. But there's also people in the program who are acting in bad faith. Right now, there's too many instances of people seeing a quick buck, who are willing to put up a lazy release in order to turn a profit. A lot of these are mods that would have been free, and in many cases, there's still better free alternatives. There's a lot of major mods that will remain free, and there's still 10 plus years of mods that we still have access to. I think there's people in the program who understand the concerns with paid creations, and are trying to make content that is worthwhile. Taking a look at some of the better creations, these wouldn't have been made were it not for this system. They wouldn't have been released as free mods at all. King Gath is trying to build a studio, which will make free mods, paid creations, and eventually indie games. The money they make from creations is to help fund other projects and to keep people employed. The Hightail team, which created Coven of Crones, has similar goals, and its members are part of the Skyblivion mod team, where they continue to work on a major free mod project. Darth Vitriol, who created A Tale of Blood and Snow, isn't looking to do this full time, but he put a ton of money into the creation, and was only able to do so given that they now had a means to break even on it, and they're hoping to make more creations, while still maintaining their full-time job. And truthfully, I think Bethesda secretly prefers these more DLC-style creations. They showed Bard's College expansion at the opening ceremony for QuakeCon this past year, and they teased A Tale of Blood and Snow during that show too. They haven't done any similar press for these standalone texture packs or weapon packs. Deep down, I think they know that the creations that people are most interested in are these new, high-quality experiences. I think they could stand to be a lot pickier with what gets approved for release. Right now, one of the problems plaguing creations is the discrepancy in price points. Each verified creator is allowed to set their own price. Bethesda is able to make suggestions, but it's ultimately up to the author. Because of that, we're seeing a weapon pack with no real quest cost more than a new storyline set in a new original world space. I would want Bethesda to set more firm price points themselves, or for the creators to come together and form some sort of standardized pricing agreement. The odds of that are unlikely though, because all it takes is for one person to say no and do their own thing. I think a big part of it is that a lot of people in the program aren't treating this like a business. But the second that they started selling products, they became one. As consumers, we should have certain expectations and hold these creations to a certain standard, since we're the ones who are forking over our hard-earned cash. What the program really needs is better backend for support. Even after a full year, creations have no review system, no comment section, the kind of things that help players figure out if this is something that they want. Even giving us a simple like and dislike button, where you have to have bought the creation in order to use it. The one good thing is that there is a refund policy, where you can request a refund for technical and hardware issues, being dissatisfied with the creation, and so on. I'll leave a link in the description for this. I do think that the refund policy needs to be advertised more, as I had only found out about it through the Skyrim mods subreddit, but even then, getting a refund just restores that balance in Creation Club credits. It's the equivalent of getting in-store credit. You're still locked into that ecosystem. As a YouTuber, my goal is to try and highlight the ones that I've personally enjoyed, and honestly, to avoid anything that doesn't even look worth it. In covering these creations, I'm hoping to provide people with something that Bethesda hasn't: reviews. In watching my videos, you can see exactly what is included, and you can even use my videos in place of buying them, the same way that people have used my videos to experience free mods in full for years. I will continue to improve my reviews, and hopefully give you guys an even better idea of some of what's available. And who knows, maybe we can try and get Bethesda to listen to some of the points that I made today, and hopefully start to clean up the creations program a bit more. But that's gonna be all for today. As always, thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the Patreon or the YouTube memberships, both of which get access to my official Discord server, as well as early access to most new videos. And if you'd like to watch me play something other than Skyrim, while still talking about Skyrim mods from time to time, make sure to check out the streams at twitch.tv/0periodproductions. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.